Hey guys, welcome back to the Greenback Voyage podcast. I'm your host, Shravan,
And I'm your co-host Joel.
and this week is the start of March Madness in both corporate and domestic terms, as well as basketball terms. And you know what? Let's just start off with there. I mean,
Start with the
both y-
basketball. We had so many upsets.
both you and me have created back brackets. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just upsets galore, basically, and I don't really want to talk about it much. I know you do, so I mean, you can take it away since you profited off well.
First one, Oral Roberts. I did not expect. That was an insane game. I enjoyed watching that. I had a couple of upsets because our league is an upset league and it's paid off pretty well. But yeah, I mean, it's been a wild week, and that's why they called it March Madness.
God
Anything can
damn.
happen.
And not only that, you also had, I believe, ACU beating Texas.
Yeah, I did. So I was really surprised. So when I was like watching the game, so
Uh-huh.
you know how they have like the worldwide ranks with everyone on the leaderboard who's leading in points.
Yeah.
So in the top three, two people had Texas winning. So
Oh
I
my
was like, okay,
gosh.
all right, AC is gonna lose this. These guys obviously know what they're doing, so Texas has to win. And then boom. So I saw a report like I think like 90% of brackets just got wrecked this week. So that's yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
no
crazy.
doubt, no doubt. But I mean, yeah, you've been on fire with those. I know you picked UNT to beat Purdue, which
Yeah, I
was
did.
ridiculous. I
Yep.
mean,
Picked a bunch of upsets and they're all paying off.
yeah, I don't know how you did it. The only one you didn't get was UVA losing, which I did
Yeah.
get. So I'll take that. I'll take that dub at everything. But yeah, I mean,
It
I
could be
can't.
because like I don't know if this is probably like going to affect it, but maybe it was probably because of the COVID year that maybe threw off some teams.
I don't know.
Um, but
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I had VCU moving on, but then they decided that they can get COVID, so that kind of wrecked my plans. But
Mhm.
man, yeah, I still can't believe what's going on. But I mean, yeah, I guess in other news other than that, I mean, this past week we had the Atlanta attack, where I
Yeah,
believe eight
it's been
Asian
unfortunate.
Americans died as a result
Yeah,
of it.
that was pretty tragic.
Yeah,
I think like what the police chief said. What did he say? It was like a hate crime, or they haven't confirmed on
they
that?
haven't confirmed it. The media kind of took it out of control. Like as soon as they realized it was that, they just took it out of control. But
I mean, it was like 8 Asian women,
yeah,
right?
I
So
mean, yeah,
it was a motivated attack, and I'm pretty sure it's definitely hate crime.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I don't doubt it as well. I just wish the media
yeah,
would wait on it before speculating them.
yeah,
But yeah, tragic loss there. It does suck since I think we both kind of know the hate that has been spiraling around Asian Americans. Luckily, I guess our kind of race isn't involved in that.
yeah. It's all
Um,
fueled by the coronavirus and
mhm.
how it originated from China, and the initial like they saying it was coming from people eating bats, and that
Yeah,
sort of spiraled into this hate against Asian Americans, especially the eastern side, and it's just unfortunate, but that's just how things go here. I mean, can't
yeah.
really
I mean,
do
yeah. If you
anything.
think about it, history has technically repeated itself. Um, we had the Japanese internment camps back in World War II that was going on.
Right,
Yeah, it's just basically the same situation we're living through now, except now it's with China. That's
right.
all we can say. But yeah, I guess going off of other countries, Italy has once again fucked up and is in their third wave of coronavirus.
I
So
remember like in the beginning of COVID, Italy was like leading in cases,
yeah,
and yeah,
I
now it
still
looks like they're in a
remember
third wave.
like 6 hours before they made the announcement, someone leaked it. Like these cities are going to be closed, and then everyone just said, "Nah, we're getting on the trains and getting the fuck out of there." Then,
Yeah,
and it was like, oh man, that's not how it's supposed to work. But yeah, right now that's like on average about 70 new intensive ward cases being admitted every day there. And unlike the US, they only have about, I think their report said 1,100 beds available right now.
hmm
So it's getting pretty close to dire situations for them again.
Yeah, a lot of countries and states should have probably. I think people kind of are ecstatic about all the vaccines coming out and people relaxing, lockdowns and certain quarantine regulations, and that
Hmm.
kind of led to, these third wave of coronavirus cases popping up, and
Yeah.
that's some of the scientists and researchers are kind of warning that the same thing could happen here, because everyone's kind of euphoric and we have 100 million doses administered and everyone's kind of getting lenient, and researchers and Fauci has said himself too, that we should still be cautious about this until we are on a good position where like 60 or 70% of the population is vaccinated and we have herd immunity. So
Hmm. It's
we're
kind
just
of
taking it
odd though.
slow
I
with
think
this.
the CDC also changed their policy and said that students themselves can be within 3 feet of each other.
Mm.
I don't know if you saw that report, which is kind of nuts. I mean, I don't know what style they're playing, how they can change from 3 feet to 6 feet. Maybe it's just an appeal to the state governors to maybe back off on some other issues that they may be, you know, trying to reappeal due to COVID. But who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of an odd situation that the CDC kind of put out there.
Right.
But yeah, and lastly, another last one. We don't want to touch on this too much, but the FOMC highlights. It's about the same thing as before. You know, interest rates are going to be low. Powell is not going to do anything for the long term. However, one major thing is I think 11 out of the 18 board members believe that inflation could reach up to 2.5% by the end of this year.
Wow.
Yeah, and GDP growth due to that inflation is now expected around 6.5 to 7% growth, which is I think the highest
So
since 1980
so the Fed target for inflation is 2%, right? So if they're
on average.
expecting,
Yeah.
so 2.5, yeah, this is gonna be over their target.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see when they start, what types of policies they'll enact, both fiscal and monetary. But we can touch on that later. I think first we have to go back to the, coronavirus vaccination situation, specifically AstraZeneca
mm-hmm.
and their types of issues that they've had over the past week. So I know that over the course of the past month in about, what is it, 5 EU countries, there have been some cases popping up here and there of blood clots whenever people have taken the AstraZeneca vaccine. And I think regulators, scientists have looked at the issue and have deemed that there's some type of protein in there that reacts badly with the brain that causes a blood clot in the brain. I don't know. I don't really look into it too much.
Mm-hmm.
But what is important is I think the EU Health Agency cleared their vaccine for use. And
That's good.
some countries have allowed it again, while I think the more northern countries like Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, and all those, they still are restricting that vaccine.
That's good.
So yeah,
Um,
yeah, I don't know. I think you have more vaccine use than me in other states, but
yeah. So remember we were talking about how Mexico we weren't gonna give any vaccines to Mexico.
yeah,
So it looks like we're gonna give some of our supply, up to 4 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine to Mexico and Canada. Currently, Israel is leading the world in terms of vaccine rollout, and they've vaccinated 60% of the residents. So, good for them. And Johnson and Johnson is now working on new versions of their vaccine to combat against coronavirus variants.
okay,
So that's good for Johnson.
yeah. And I think that Moderna said they were also vaccinating children now. They're testing the vaccination on them, seeing how that works. So who knows? Maybe we can get all this behind us earlier than 2023.
Yep. Well, let's roll over to some cryptocurrency news. So, looks like India is going to ban Bitcoin. So I think that this is kind of a long. I think a lot of people saw this coming, especially with some other reports back. I think last year, they were banning some of these cryptocurrency brokers in India. Now it looks like, the government officials and BJP's looking forward to completely banning cryptocurrency in their country.
Yeah, and other countries are also starting to look at it. I think China, Russia, as well as one other Asia Pacific country have started to also look at possibly banning cryptocurrencies and fining anyone heavily. So they're really trying to tackle their own financial situation and make sure that.
This is just rich. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a currency for decentralizing, the whole financial structure, and then you have all these governments trying to ban this. I mean, it's going against what we should truly have, right? India's second largest democracy in the world, second largest population. First largest democracy in the world, second largest population, and they're going to ban this decentralized system, right? That is, I believe, the future of our financial system, and so looks like India's making a big move. And actually, I think this resulted in a huge drop in Bitcoin and a few other altcoins out there. So
could you imagine if there were rumors that the U.S. would start to ban it? That would cause a drastic decrease.
That would be huge, because you have all these like investment banking, like I think Goldman Sachs, and we're gonna talk about Morgan Stanley. They're all getting into the cryptocurrency space, right? And there's a lot of money like Tesla, ARK Invest. These guys are all getting into cryptocurrencies. And if US were going to outright ban cryptocurrency, that would have huge implications, and there will be a huge selling pressure. So, I personally think US won't do it. I think they would want to maintain the control of cryptocurrency. So I don't see that happening in the near term.
Yeah, I think the only issue with Bitcoin is just the scams that are used to transact across of it, and it's just much harder to track right now. Yeah, so I mean that's like the only issue, but I mean it's kind of crazy to think that there's a way of banning cryptocurrencies, even though technically they're kind of regulated on the black market, which is also kind of banned in a way. But yeah, I mean that's like a whole nother issue to talk about. But yeah, like you mentioned before, Morgan Stanley, surprise, surprise, is the first big U.S. bank to offer its wealth management clients access to Bitcoin funds. Now, unfortunately, this is only for the rich. So, like, anyone with an aggressive risk tolerance who has at least $2 million in assets held by the firm. So what they're basically saying is any rich folks out there who have benefited from a certain will or legacy may buy Bitcoin through Morgan Stanley. That's about it.
That's huge moves. Banks are starting to get into space.
Yeah, but I mean they're still, restricting the less valuable or the, retail investors of getting in.
I think that would slowly trickle down. Maybe they'll start off with people who have large amount of capital and equity for them to actually can take the risk, and then once it gets widely adopted in that demographic, then it'll slowly trickle down to small retail investors. But yeah, this is a good step in the right direction. So
yeah, but I guess going off reopening news, California I think has stated that they will start reopening their reopening process. We can get into Disney later on, but I think first we need to just focus on regular offices, and I think you can talk more about it.
So a lot of offices this is pretty much a waste of infrastructure, right? You buy a building and then 1 year later everyone's working from home, so it looks like a lot of offices are transitioning to reopening their spaces. And it's not, I think like a lot of big companies, so especially Salesforce, what some higher up representatives said is that they're going to start a new type of work plan where people would come in just for meetings, and people would come in where they won't go to a regular desk every day. It would be a new desk every day, and some people just can opt in to come for a meeting only. So You would come in for the meeting. You talk with your client or your coworkers plan, and once you're done, you just go home and work. So they're trying to get some use of their office spaces, and I don't think it's going to be normal. I think more people are kind of adjusted to working from home. I mean, it's been more than a year, right? So yeah, I mean, especially like the IT and computer science jobs, they will continue to be remote. And like I think like Box Inc., right?
Yeah.
90% of their employees are working from home, and they're going to keep it that way. It's final. So Box is completely, it's 90% remote right now. Their whole workforce is 90% remote. And that's kind of like, I think that's going to be the move for a lot of companies, and it's going to be 40% remote for their employees.
That is kind of insane. I guess it's both a good thing and bad thing. I mean, you kind of
Yeah,
lose that relationship touch that you kind of had beforehand, especially
yeah.
if you
So
did like,
yeah,
especially, lots of people, they choose companies they want to work for based on the work environment. And a huge part of it's just going to the office every day and interacting with everyone there. But if you just have to, get a higher paying job at, a shittier work environment, but you only have to deal with those employees for like, or your coworkers for 30 minutes a day, like more people will definitely take that over this. So that may be an issue in the future, as HR starts to look less towards, making sure that their employees are interacting well between each other.
yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, this also like is a good thing for some companies, because if you want to search for like workers, you won't be limited to your own area. So let's say like a company here, they won't just have to search in like the Northern Virginia area. They can now go search for employees anywhere, because now it's all remote. You can work remote, right? And I think in the beginning, a lot of managers worried that their employees and workers won't be as productive. They will kind of like procrastinate, but that never happened. Actually, more people were more productive during staying at home. So I think a lot of people are fine with transitioning to just in staying home and working remote, and just having like 2 or 3 days in the week to go to the office and interact. So it's going to be like a hybrid system from now
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I guess, I mean, not everyone's going to stay at home, so there's going to be
Yeah.
increased traffic, and that will also cause an increase for demand of oil and gas, which, while it's not likely to return to pre-pandemic levels, I think the IEA forecasted like a 5-year forecast for it, where
Right.
it will outweigh the demand from growth of developing countries or something like that.
Yeah, so basically what the IEA said was, we're not going to see, because we had a huge rally in oil and gas, right, this year. They're saying that it's not going to return to pandemic levels, because a lot of these huge behemoth auto manufacturers are transitioning to EV cars. So they're going to, like Volkswagen, Tesla, Audi, Ford, GM, they're going to start producing EV cars this year or the following year, and that's going to completely shift the space, and that's why the IEA is saying that we're not going to return to pre-pandemic levels.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess going off on EV, I know that there's two major news, one from Volkswagen and one from Lordstown, my bad. I know Lordstown is, cooperating with the SEC, and they're going about their own business, but I think they're scheduled to start producing their own endurance electric pickup truck in late September, October area. So that might be like a good play to react to maybe Ford and their F-150 projects as well. And yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to. It's kind of hard to predict which companies are going to do well within this space, because it is a lot like the tech industry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously saw, what was it, Citron or some other researcher? Was it Hindenburg?
Yeah.
Hindenburg research basically, said that Lordstown was a fraud, and they've done it with Nikola, right? But I think like one startup that's been on my radar is Rivian, and they're backed by Amazon. So they're going to start producing their pickup trucks. That would be a great play to watch if they go public. And also on Amazon, they're going to start. Amazon's going to completely make their not pickup trucks, their prime trucks EV. So they have contracts with Rivian to do that. So Rivian could be, you know, a merger in this space over like Lordstown or Nikola or even like some other pickup truck company out there.
Okay. Yeah, and then I guess with Volkswagen, their big news was that it would invest in 6 large battery factories and just chug out as much of EV batteries as they can for their own sort of, you know, vehicles, both in their own program, Volkswagen program, as well as, you know, their subsidiaries like Porsche and so on. So they're starting to take this race by the storm. Like I think within the past 3 months, they went from like all gas, all diesel to now pushing to be like one of the first big corporations to make that full transition into electric vehicle market.
Yeah, Volkswagen is at a great place. I think, you know, at this rate, at transitioning their company, they can easily start to capture a huge market share in the Europe side. So they're in a good position right here, and their stock popped off this week. I think it was over 20%. Just based on this news. So investors are anticipating that Volkswagen would be a huge player in Europe.
Yeah, I heard it saved the DAX. Like the DAX is the German, you know, index fund there, and it basically saved it from going negative this week because of how much it popped. It was insane.
Remember the good old days when Tesla got added to the S&P, and when it popped off, S&P
man.
would.
And now we're just now it's on a shit show, isn't it, Tesla?
Now Tesla is just tanking.
But
man. I mean, if speaking of Tesla, ARK Invest, you know, Kathy Wood came out. They said $3,000 price target on Tesla
with a bearish case of 1,500 or something, right?
It was a bearish case of 1,400, bullish case of 4,000, and their price target was 3,000. So that's a $3 million valuation. Or sorry, $3 trillion valuation on Tesla in 5 years.
Yeah, I definitely think ARK is believing that Tesla's going to be an energy company more than an EV company.
And not only that, they were saying that Tesla would be like dominating the robotaxi space. They believe that robotaxis will explode in the next 5 years, and Tesla would be a key player in that. And that's why they're putting a $3 trillion valuation on it. I mean, first of all, that's incredibly insane. I mean, 6
I would have
years
expected.
going from.
Yeah, I would have expected Uber to maybe take over that space, because I know they've been, and Lyft have been developing their own kind of self-driving taxi service.
Yeah, I think Uber definitely is making plans to get into that space. But in terms of the cars and technology, Tesla, Google, and Microsoft are kind of like will be the main providers for the technology. And I think ARK is betting on that Tesla would be like the sole provider, or like the majority, 90 or 80% of the self-driving tech. Tesla would be, licensing that and things like that. So that's a huge bet. I mean, to have a bear case of like what 1,400, that's like double the price right now, the current price rate. So they're incredibly bullish on the stock. I mean, that it's just insane how bullish they are. And investors, I mean, when she said the same thing 2 years ago, when she gave that huge price target, everyone laughed at her. Everyone didn't take her seriously, and we saw what happened the past year. So investors are now taking notice of what she has to say about Tesla. So we could definitely see some price appreciation in the stock this week as people start to buy in. So we'll see how that goes this week.
Yeah, that would do wonders to my portfolio, so hopefully she can help out with that. Yeah, but I mean, we were talking about Uber, right? I know Uber, this past week, they had to reclassify all of its UK drivers as workers.
Right. They're going to contractors, right? Or employees?
No. So there's two different sets there, actually, in the UK. So there's a difference between employees and workers. So employees are like the full-time, They get all the benefits and everything. But workers, they can be part-time as well, but they won't get as many benefits as employees would. It's kind of a weird system that they have there. But I mean, they still have minimum wage, vacation pay, and other benefits. I don't think a 401k or anything along those lines is available. But the Supreme Court did rule that, they had to reclassify them as that. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough for Uber, especially since they've shot up since November. So yeah, I mean, who knows what impact this would have on their future earnings.
Well, this is definitely going to have an impact on their margins, right?
Yeah, that too.
You're gonna have to, so.
Yeah, and
we could see
but at least
some dip in price.
Yeah, the only good thing I can see coming out of this is less competition can come into the market, since now there's, a higher rate of funding needed in order to get into this market, because now you have to classify them as workers, which looks like it'll start to spread throughout the EU as well. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to see.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of rough for companies right now, especially, Biden's corporate tax is also in play as well. Like, there have been rumors circulating that if tech companies continue to do well, along with, recovery companies showing great profits in this year, the Biden administration is looking to implement the minimum 28% corporate tax bill by the end of this fiscal year, which would be insane. The amount of policies that Biden would have passed in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like, it's a complete turnaround from Trump's to his presidency.
Yeah, and it's minimum, so like most companies would probably have to pay around 30% plus.
Right.
It looks like. So
yeah.
Jeez, I mean, socialist economy is coming towards us.
Well, in terms of reopening, looks like Disney is going to reopen their California parks on April 30th.
Yeah.
So next month.
And AMC as well, because of California, they're looking to open. I think said around 95 to 98% of their theaters across the U.S.
Yeah, pretty much all their theaters will be open.
So, man, I mean, I don't really know if this is the right move, to be honest. I think we should still wait, another month until at least the vaccine is available to the public before they, introduce any reopening ideas. But I mean, they want to be.
They should probably like reopen maybe like next or the following summer. See how the summer goes, and but they're kind of in a very, very dire situation. I think they need to have some significant revenue source now. And they were kind of saved by the whole short squeeze event with GameStop, and how AMC also was benefit from that, and they sold a lot of stock to raise capital. So that pretty much Reddit saved the company. So and yeah, it looks like they're coming back to business with opening their theaters.
Yeah,
I don't know about a lot of movies releasing this summer. Most of the movies are being released on the streaming platforms, like
HBO especially. With Warner
and Disney,
Bros.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So for them to reopen with movies, there's not a lot of movies coming out this summer. So
I heard they're like replanning to, re-release previous movies. So like Tenet, for example, there's rumors that they might re-release that to the public again in the movie theaters, along with like some others that were meant to come out by this year.
Yeah,
so who knows? I mean, we'll see where it goes. Looks like probably 2022 is probably when we'll go back into movie theater.
So, speaking of re-releasing movies, I don't know if you heard this, but Avatar, you know how like Endgame took over Avatar as the top grossing movie?
Yeah.
Right? So Avatar re-released their movie somewhere in some European country. I think maybe it was Germany. And they retook their spot at the top.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Weren't they like?
A lot of Marvel fans were so mad. What was that?
Weren't they like a huge amount behind Endgame?
Yeah. So I think no. So initially, when Endgame released in the summer, right?
Uh-huh.
They weren't able to beat Avatar, and then they actually re-released again, and then they beat Avatar, right?
Really?
So
Oh, I
yes,
actually didn't
so
know
now
that.
yeah, Avatar basically pulled a Uno reverse card, and they released it somewhere. Maybe it was Germany, but I don't know. But it was some country, and now they've retaken their top at the highest grossing movie of all time. So
Jeez, and in an EU country as well, not even in the US. Wow,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that
Worked
was
out.
a lot of Marvel fans are really really mad about that. Even though like Disney did the same thing with Endgame. And Avatar's owned by Disney, so it's a win-win for
Yeah,
them,
I mean,
anyways.
I don't
Right?
understand. And
Yeah.
I mean, you
So
got like all those shows coming out, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I mean, well, they can't really complain about much now.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Well.
I guess the last news we can go upon is China,
Mhm.
like usual. No other really foreign news that's come out majorly this week. But China, on the other hand, has had a little trouble with Tesla. They've restricted the use of Tesla cars by its military and government workers.
Yep.
So you can't really
That is
drive them
big news.
anywhere. Yeah,
Yep.
and kind of surprising. I think this is more of a personal attack against the US rather than Musk, because I mean, have you
Oh
heard
yeah,
of
definitely.
Musk's
Yeah.
interview against the SEC? He hates the government with a passion.
Yeah. You
So,
do.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
This is just constant going back and forth between U.S. and China, blocking products and trying to damage each other's business. Pretty much that's what's going on right here. But this could impact. I don't know the significance of this impacting Tesla because it's just they're military and government workers.
Mhm.
Their consumer sales are definitely going up in China, and they have gigafactory plans there. So, but this is, I mean, China is being China, and the U.S. is being U.S. in terms of blocking each other's products. So, um, I
Yeah.
think in terms of other Chinese news, I think they had their meeting. So the U.S. officials and some Chinese diplomats had some meeting in Alaska, and they basically wanted the Biden administration to drop some of the sanctions on Chinese officials and some entities, and that were put by Trump's administration. So we'll have to see if Biden will actually drop those sanctions, or if he will continue to have a harsh stance on China.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it looks like he will implement a more strict or continue on what the Trump administration basically did.
Mhm.
But yeah, who knows after COVID ends? Maybe we'll have to see then.
Yeah. And we've been over this so many times. The WHO-led team of scientists had
Oh gosh.
nothing. They basically had nothing. It was basically worthless when they went to Wuhan earlier this year or last year. And yeah, I mean, China's being China in terms of blocking what they can do, blocking any type of progress to find how COVID originated.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, lastly, I think you wanted to talk about Boeing as well.
Yeah, Boeing's going through another new problems with their 787 Dreamliners. So first it was 737 aircrafts, and now, or the Max 8 aircraft, right?
Mhm.
So it looks like they're facing new hurdles with their aircraft here.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough for Boeing. I mean, this pandemic, the past 2 years have been rough for them. Yeah, they really focused on, making sure their shareholders and management itself were paid handsomely rather than focusing on the future, and it's kind of hurt them
Yeah,
in this way.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess news to watch out for this week. Big news. Didn't really think of saying this until, a couple months ago, but GameStop earnings are out this week.
Yeah.
So watch out for the volatility on that, because that's going to either skyrocket the price back to 500 or it could plummet back down to $50.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see what type of financial performance they'll be posting here.
Yeah, and man, I don't even know what to even think of GameStop at this point.
Yeah. In other news, so Trump, there are some reports of Trump starting to plans to start his own social media platform. that I'm not going to take on face value because everyone said he was going to start his own party, and then he basically said nope. And but we'll see. We'll have to see what he officially says about this. This would be. This would. I mean, people. I mean, if you. What was that platform that?
Parlor.
I forgot the name.
Parler,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
right?
Parlor. Yeah, Parler basically was banned from Amazon's web services, right? They couldn't find a host for a long time. So for Trump, he has to. I don't know what he's gonna do about that. Who's he gonna go to? But we'll have to see about that. Other news: what's gonna happen with the 10-year Treasury yield today or this week? Could it go to 1.8, 1.9, maybe 2%?
Gosh, that
We'll
would
have
be
to see
insane.
Yeah, that would completely wreck stocks, especially tech stocks. We'll probably see Nasdaq go below 300 if that happens.
Yeah.
And then I think you have some news here about
Oh
Intel.
yeah. Intel has their conference coming up, which they plan to, reveal what their next 3 years is about. Their new CEO came in from VMware, so hopefully they can get off to a good start. And I know they're trying to tackle Apple now, especially since Apple kind of ditched them with the chips and all. I don't know if you heard this, but I don't know if you've seen the ads like what that Apple did in the past. It's the I'm a Mac guy. So
Like their war with Microsoft during that time?
no. It's just like promoting their Mac products back then.
Oh, okay.
And so they hired this guy Justin Long to do it. And he was just like, I'm a Mac guy. And he was like, that's how the Mac brand kind of populated over time. And what Intel did was they basically bought him. And they're doing ads. They're doing ads basically targeting both Apple as well as promoting their own, their own new
hilarious.
lines of computers. Yeah. So, I mean, Intel's going all in. And I mean, they have a shot at it. They have a shot at, bringing back the business to where it was before. Their previous CEO sucked ass, but hopefully this new one can do a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of noticed with tech companies, the CEOs, in order to be like a really good CEO that focuses both on innovation as well as shareholder equity, you need to have like a BS degree in some engineering, a subject, and then they all get their MBA from like some top tier college. And like, look at them now, like AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft. I mean, I could name off so many tech companies that have that sort of system. And the Intel guy was like a BS in management with an MBA. And look how that turned out. So for any tech companies that happen to listen to our podcast, if you want a new CEO, just find a guy like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
I guess
think that's all for today, this week.
Yeah. I mean,
not a lot of
just
news,
make
but
sure
we covered
not
good
a
ones.
lot of news. Just March Madness basically. I think everyone's just, taking a look at their brackets rather than their portfolios.
Yeah. We got a couple of games tonight I'll be watching. But I think we can Sean.
Yeah,
can wrap
I
it up
mean,
here.
just make sure to follow us on Spotify if you're listening on there, and make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And we will see you guys next week.